Good evening, everybody, and welcome to some Star Trek bonus content. I am Innes, and I am joined by Jeremy, and today we're going to be talking about the Team Event Pack, what it means for you, and how team events are going to work in 11th edition. This is the first bonus content we're making for 11th edition. We're very excited to be here chatting all about it because team events are something that's very near and dear to our heart here at StatCheck. We're going to get right into it. Jeremy, why don't you tell us a little bit about what the scope of the Team Event Pack is and what it
Yeah.
means?
So this is something that's interesting because this is the first time that we have like kind of formal guidance or rules from Games Workshop officially on how we run teams. And so the pack includes everything from how you build your teams, how you determine who plays who, and then how you score out the round and determine who wins the round. Those of you that have been playing the WTC format be very familiar with everything in this document. It You can tell that they're they've taken hints and lessons from what we're already very used to. So, yeah,
Very
and
broadly, if
then
you've played WTC, there's some tweaks, but nothing that you'll identify as like a major change.
exactly, it's definitely not a one-to-one read across, but we're also in a new edition, so there are some things that had to change because of how the missions changed.
Yeah, for sure. So first thing up that you'll see when you open the pack is you'll see how you build a team. And I think the easy way to describe this is that you bring a unique amount of armies equal to the number of players on your team. So if you're playing 5-man teams, you will have 5 unique armies. If you're playing 8-man teams, you'll have 8 unique armies, and that's the starting point. That also applies
Yeah,
to things like allies. So only one of your players could bring something like Chaos Space Marine allies, or could bring Chaos Demon allies if you're playing like a Chaos Space Marine player and a Chaos Knight player. Only one of them could have demons, and if one of them had demons, you wouldn't be able to have Chaos demons in the rest of your roster.
yeah,
That doesn't apply to things that don't share faction keywords, and it doesn't apply to things like demons included in other armies. So something like Corn Demonkin or um, Carnival for Emperor's Children would be allowed to bring their demons alongside a demon army because they don't share a faction keyword. It's the faction keyword level that specifically prevents the overlap, and that's
yeah,
the first
and
major hurdle that you'll have.
in the pack, they basically call it out by codex. So they basically say, if it's in a codex and you use something out of that codex has been used.
Hmm. Yeah. I wonder if does that still apply to things like Emperor's Children being in an army, but also allowing Noise Marines to be included in the Chaos Space Marines because they do change faction keyword at that level. I wonder if that's still included.
I don't know.
Um,
I think that was
yeah, it's
always a
kind of
very odd exclusion.
yeah. It says Codex, but it also says faction keyword. I actually specifically says this does not apply to cases where ally rules being used to change faction keywords or where data sheets appear in multiple codexes. So specifically, it calls out that Noise Marines do work as they are currently. So Noise Marines, when you use them with the I can't remember exactly what the rules call for Chaos Space Marines, but they can bring them in. They change their faction keyword from Emperor's Children or Thousand Sons or Death Guard, depending on the unit, to Chaos Space Marines. So in that situation, that would not prevent allies, but allying in Nurglings to Chaos Space Marines
I think that's
and
the
Chaos Knights
only
is not.
exception actually is the Cult Marines in CSM.
Think so, yeah. But it is a notable one, right? Because that is the thing that Chaos Space Marines do like to do occasionally.
They do.
Yeah. There is one other restriction at the team compositional level, which is that your force dispositions, so that's your take and hold, your priority targets, your purge the foe, reconnaissance, and disruption, must all be unique among each set of 5 players, is basically the way to think about it. So your first 5 players must all play a different disposition. Your 6th player can play any disposition. Your 7th player cannot play the same one as your 6th player, is kind of the way to think about it, and then so on and so forth. So if you were going to have 5 people, you would have one of each disposition. If you were to play 6, you could have 5 of any one and then one of any. And then your 6th player then repeats that same process, right? They could not play the same one as the 6th player. The 8th could not play the same as the 6th or 7th, right? Each set of 5 must be unique. What this means is in 4 mans, you'll have one that you skip. In 5 mans, you'll have everything. In 6 mans, you'll have one duplicate. And in 8 mans, which is the other size that we typically see, you'll have 3 duplicates and 2 singles. So you'll pick 2 to not repeat. There's no way to do it where you kind of shenanigan your way to having like, 8 purge the foes or anything like that, which I think is a generally good change because of how specific the missions are now. That having the pain point of being like multiple rounds of I'm just playing as purge the foe like all the time because it's the best
It's
one. It does help
it's
normalize the
both a
gameplay.
good change and a bad change because when you couple it with the faction limitation, you end up in a position where some people will not have armies that are actually viable in teams.
Yes, for sure.
Because you can look at it and go, well, we have to take CSM and they're always going to play Purge. And we have to take Imperial Knights and they're always going to play Purge. And then say you're a World Eaters player and their only viable disposition is Purge. You go, well, I can't play World Eaters.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it At the moment, I think this is a bigger problem because we are so much in the like the old mindset of these are the things that are good that come over from last edition. I think if we see more of a move towards 2-1s in the codex, this is a thing that becomes much more easy to alleviate, right?
Yes,
Like
very
we
much
can
so.
threes going forward, but we're like, well, Gladius still exists and it kind of has to be a 3, then there's not a ton of flexibility there because Gladius must play priority assets. But if as the codexes come out, it's more of a, like a, we're aiming for you to play a 2 and a 1, and the 3s are like a vestigial thing that will continue to exist, but not really, then it becomes much easier to be like, well, every army has 2 options, and if you had to flex your 1 pointer to make your detachment, your army work for your team, it might not be that big a deal. I do think that it encourages you toward flexibility. Um, I think in 4 mans, it's probably completely fine because you're like, well, we just bounce one person, like we bounce around the one that we don't bring. I think 5 mans is particularly restricting because you need exactly one of each. And then 6 mans, it opens back up again quite a lot. I think
Yeah,
6 mans is going to be the sweet spot of number for teams this edition based on that, because it means that you have, it's just easier to organize, right? I think in a
yeah,
very real
because
way. For
it's one of these things where you like you said, you have that flexibility of yeah, you got to take one of each, but then you have that one floater that you can kind of take whatever you want, which then opens things back up.
exactly. I think the idea of playing, for me, I think this would push me towards running events as 4s or 6s as opposed to 5s now, specifically for
Agreed.
the reason of opening up that flexibility. Now, I do think that the idea of 5s is super cool. I think we're running an event in October that's 5s, which we were already doing it as 5s. It's going to stay 5s, but the idea of you will have one of every first division in it, like it narratives out quite well, right, at the 5s
Yeah,
level, but the
and
4 and 6 does open up the
there's
flexibility.
always the age old thing of fours is a car, fives is two cars, and you get and fours is two hotel rooms, and all these different things of it's easier to
Yeah.
arrange 4 people than it is to arrange
Yeah,
5 people.
and I honestly think like 6 is as easy to arrange as 5 in a general abstract sense because it's
Yeah,
it's the same number of hotel rooms, it's the same number of cars, right? Like nothing ton changes besides like an extra person.
yeah. Uh, and there's something interesting about fours and sixes that we'll get to when we talk about pairings.
Yeah, well, I think that's where we're at now. So we're going to run through sort of a general review of how pairings works, and then we've actually prepared a couple bits. So we're going to run through a round of pairings in 5s and a round of pairings in 8s, just to show you guys exactly how it works. We're going to assume that you guys haven't done pairings before, because although there's some new stuff to this edition, we appreciate that there's going to be hopefully a whole bunch of people getting excited about playing teams for the first time and growing the best part of 40k. So Jeremy, why don't you run us through the starter? What does team pairings look like this edition?
Yeah, so they've actually done a really good job here. One of the things that they've done is they've provided guidance on anywhere from 3 player to 8 player teams and how you do pairings. And the way that they've done it is they've broken it down into 3 basically steps. The first of which you'll repeat twice for the larger team events, and then the for like larger teams in terms of player size, and then the second phase you'll always do, and then the third phase it depends on if you have an even or odd number of players in a team. So the first stage is initial skirmish. I like the names on all these things too because they're just easy to remember. You start in the initial skirmish, and the way that it works is both teams will put forward a defender. Put a card down secretly that has the army and ideally disposition written down on it. And then both teams reveal it at the same time, and then both teams will choose 2 attackers from their roster to attack into that defender again secretly. Reveal them both at the same time, and then you take away, you deliberate, and then that defender from each team will choose one of the attackers and then discard the other one.
Yep, they'll return to your hand. The remaining pairings will get set to the side. Well, usually they'll get discarded. There are a couple times they don't. Um,
So for initial
oh, for
skirmish,
this
they
one they
will.
always get. Yeah,
Yeah, for this one they always do. And this is why they broke it up into 2 because it makes it very easy to kind of flow through for each of the
yeah,
processes. So this one you just go and then you keep going back to the roster.
yeah.
Um,
And in this situation, the defenders would then be able to pick their table from among the 3 sets. So there's an A, a B, and a C layout of each disposition's mission. So if you are playing, for example, you're playing. What's a really easy example? You're playing take and hold versus disruption. So the disruption player is playing death trap. The take and hold player is playing. What is the take and hold player playing? I can't read. Um,
we have it open in front of us.
I do have it open in front of us. They're playing Determined Acquisition. There we go. I'm
Yes.
struggling to read my own chart. So we're playing Death Trap versus Determined Acquisition, and then as the player who is the defender, so if I'm the disruption player, I can choose which of the A, B, and C layout to play. And in general, that will usually mean there are 6 generic layouts that we're playing. We have Sweeping Engagement, Dawn of War, Tipping Point, Hammer and Anvil, Search and Destroy. and Crucible of Battle. So there are 6 versions. 3 of those will be available, and I would be able to choose between, as that option, I would be choosing between layout A, which is a sweeping engagement layout. I would be choosing between layout B, which is a Crucible of Battle layout, and I would be choosing between layout C, which is a hammer and anvil layout. So if I'm the melee army, I might choose to play the Dawn of War, the sweeping engagement deployment, because I want to get really close, up close and personal. If I'm the shooting army, I might choose tipping point to keep you at an arm's length of me so I can deploy further back in my deployment zone. And if we're fairly balanced, I might go for the Crucible of Battle. Right, that's just one example, but your mileage will vary depending on your list. The other thing that's changed compared to how we used to do this stuff previously is the defender will always be treated as having be the defender on the roll off for first versus second drop. So the defender will usually always have first drop, which means their infiltrators will go down first, but also they might lose out on the informational advantage of, I want to make you drop first so that I can see where your stuff is more frequently. So there are pros and cons to this,
Yeah.
but generally it's those two things that have conventionally had the same name are now paired together, and it's no longer a roll off for defenders specifically.
Yeah. And notably, that means that each team will have an even number from the initial pairings because there's going to put down an even number, like the same number of defenders.
Yep.
For odd counts of players and for anything that uses the champion system, which we'll talk about, you end up in a position where there will be a bit of randomness or a bit of preset
Yeah,
for who ends up being the
predetermination.
defender.
There is a set layout. So each round, and we'll cover this more as we get into the champion and main process. Each round will be set to A, B, or C, which is basically done by, round 1 is A, round 4 is A, round 7 is A, round 2 and 5 are round 2, 7, 5, and 8, I guess, are B, and then round 3, 6, and 9 are C. Is the easiest way to kind of judge it. That's done by that. You might see some events do a different order on that, but baseline it's ABC 1, 2, 3. So in this situation, you would have a fixed layout. So you would play layout A if this had been a champion pairing, but it's not a champion pairing, it's a defender pairing. So our disruption player chooses A, and they're playing on sweeping engagement. That would be the easiest way to do it. And then on the other side, our purge the foe mirror, where they're both playing meat grinder. Whichever purge the foe player defended can choose between, I believe it's sweeping engagement, search and destroy, and crucible of battle. So they get to have a fairly dramatic fight in the middle, or they get to decide to stay fairly far apart. But you'll have that choice as a defender.
So for anyone who's wondering, just because this just came out today, and this video will be posted the day afterwards. But in terms of our bonus content, if you haven't looked at it yet, this is the Warhammer Event Companion. This is what has been uploaded to Warhammer Community, so you can go and download it. This covers the general event information, but what it also has is it has all of the maps as well as a key for the
Yep.
layouts. And all of these layouts are going to be used in both singles and teams. So there's no more of this disparity that we would sometimes have where some events would be using Games Workshop recommended layouts, some are using WTC, some are using UKTC. Everyone's basically using the same layouts, at least starting out the edition. That
And now we'll all just whinge about what's on the plates.
true.
I can't wait to see the giant ones that come out of BFS. Right, that's what I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, Brian's been
Remember,
doing a good chunk of work on that. But yeah,
I
so
want to play on that
example,
terrain format.
take and hold versus take and hold. They're both playing Battlefield Dominance. You have Tipping Point, Dawn, and Search and Destroy as your options.
Yep.
And it's and the letters on them refer to layouts A, layouts B, layout C. So we'll be talking a lot about these as we kind of go through it. So that's what this is where we're kind of pointing to for that.
Exactly. And it does make things nice and simple on the general sense, right? There is
Yeah.
a document that has all the layouts. You will need to know 15 layouts for your army because there will be 15 you can play. And if, one of the things that will come up from this is that if you have an attacker that wants, so we'll talk about consequences later. I don't want to get into too much. Right
so once we
once
we finish the initial skirmish, we then move in or however number of the initial skirmish, because if you are doing 7 or 8 player teams, you actually do initial skirmish twice, and then you go into the main engagement.
So 5,
main engagement,
6 we'll do it once, 7 and 8 we'll do it twice, and then and then at that point, 3 and 4 will have not done it at all. Then everyone will go into main engagement at the same together.
Correct. So main engagement starts off the exact same as initial skirmish. Both teams put down a defender secretly, they reveal it. Both teams then put forward 2 attackers, they reveal it. The defender chooses. Now here's where things differ, is that when that defender chooses, they're going to pair against their attacker. So you'll have those 2 pairings decided. The attacker that is rejected from each group then have to play each other. They are known as the rejected attackers. So there's
Yep.
an element there, and we'll kind of talk about consequences where you kind of need to think of, well, are they going to accept or reject this if we put this forward? What do we think is gonna come forward? And then from there, one of the things is their recommendation is that you fix the layout for the refused attacker based on the round. So in the example that they use, they say that in round one, the rejected attacker matchup goes on layout A. On round two, they go on layout B. And round three, they go on layout C. And then you just loop back through it for rounds 4, 5, 6, 7, however many are in your team event.
Yep.
Um,
And then at
and
that
so,
point, after the main engagement, 3-player teams will stop, as will 5-player teams and 7-player teams. But all of the even number teams will now have to do a separate thing, which is the champion system, which is that if you can do math, everybody's used an odd number of teams, an odd number of players at this point. There's one guy left. The guy left on each team, shockingly, plays each other as the champion, and the champion will also use the fixed layout, the same letter, but not necessarily the same layout as the rejecteds, because
yeah.
that will be different because their disposition will be different, right? It might be the
Yeah.
same layout, it might
And
not be.
we'll kind of show that here. So again, kind of looking at this layout A for take and hold versus take and hold, this tipping point. We look at layout A for take and hold versus purge of the foe. It's sweeping engagement.
Yep.
And so
And then I assume
there's
it's
a big
different
difference
again.
in terms of there. And I think we're going to do quite a bit of content on the layouts once we've all had a bit more chance to grasp all of them.
Absolutely. So then we have the next couple of things. So obviously, the only other thing to note there is the rejecteds and the champion will both roll off for attacker and defender in their game as
Yes.
normal, only the first 6. Now, one thing that I am truly thrilled about for this as a captain is it means that all my players have to stand at the pairing to figure out if they were attacker or defender. They can't just wander off. They do have to stick around to wait to find out if they're the defender or not. And that's just beautiful for me. I really do like that. They can't just leave. They have to stay.
I mean, the first pairing goes up. They know who the defender is, so they just go.
Yeah, I know they're going to leave anyway, but I'll shout at them.
Yeah. But they can go
Okay.
set up their table. It's great because you can't pre-set up tables now.
Everything else is broadly the same up until you get to the point where you have finished your game. Everything else is going to be the same as if you're playing a singles game. But at the point where you finish your game, you now get into the compare your scores phase, which is where we generate differential, which is called here team scoring and uses battle points. Battle points are slightly separate but correlated to victory points. And the basic threshold here is that for every 5 points after the first 5 points that you beat someone by, you score an additional point for your team and they score 1 point less. So every game starts at a 10-10. That's a dead draw. And that happens up until you have won by 6 points. So a 0 to 5 point game to your advantage. So if Jeremy beats me by 3 points, we have scored a 10-10 draw in team's money. For every 5 points after the first 5 points that Jeremy was to beat me by, he would then add 1 to his score and take 1 away from mine so that our scores always remain tied at 20, but it just goes from being together to going, mine goes down as Jeremy's goes up. So if Jeremy was to beat me by 36 points, he would then go score a 17-3 because he has scored 7 sets of 5 points more than his first 5, right? 36
7
was the right
sets
example.
plus 1.
Yeah, exactly. So the easy math on this one is you go, whatever your number is, you go down to the next multiple of 5, whatever it is, go down to the next one and divide that by 5. So if you won by 37, you go down to 35, divide that by 5 is 7, add that to your 10, that's your winning score, 17-3. Win by 51, go down to 50, that's the maximum score, that's a 20-0. And then obviously the same thing works there. If you were at 5, you go down to the next multiple of 5, which is 0, and then you have no additional. That's why a 5-point win is still a draw.
Yeah. And then
Then
from there, the
the
teams add all of their scores together, and that will then tell you by how you then have. There's then one more check of the two team scores against each other because there is a certain amount of difference between those scores that is needed for a win. And again, they've provided the guidance for 4-player teams. It's 6 points. So the idea behind that is there is 80 points total on the table between those 4 players. So you need to win 43-37. You need to get 6 points more than your opponent. Which, for those that are returning and have kind of played in teams before, we used to play it as multiples of 11 up to 6 players, and then after that, it was a difference of.
It's been very volatile. I think I've played a team event with every number from 41 to 46
Yep.
as the
Same thing
threshold
with
needed to
fives. I've
win.
played
It's never
everything
been
from
consistent.
51 to 55, where it.
Yeah.
So now we hope At the very least, I expect West Coast Pairings will update their team scorecard to reflect this. So if you're
Default
using the
this.
default settings, you now know what it's actually telling you.
So to quickly run through it, 3-player teams is 4-point differential. So you would need to have a 32 to 28 score to win. 4-player teams is, as Jeremy said, 6 points, and so is 5. 6-player teams is 8. 7-player teams is 10. I have never seen a 7-player team tournament.
I know. I kept
could
seeing the
not.
7-player thing in here, and I went, it's probably just there for continuity, but I don't think we should run one just because it'd be fun.
Sevens sounds hilarious. I am like we play rugby sevens, right? That's a thing. So
Yeah,
yeah, and then 12, and then 12 is 20. There are 21 unique factions, right? Where's my rule for 21-player teams? You tell me you don't think that would be hilarious to do a 21-player team where everyone has to have one
we've
of
talked
every
about it before.
faction.
We've talked about doing that
We've
before.
we've definitely talked about that. We should maybe do that for Christmas one year. That'd be cool.
Next round of
Okay.
vibe check, there are 2 teams.
And that is broadly teams. There's a little bit of additional stuff about how you should do pairing teams, which is broadly you should pair teams by team points, by number of wins, losses, and draws, where a win is worth 2 points, a loss is worth 1, losses are 0, and a draw is worth 1. Then by individual game wins, which is a thing that will be a little bit different from what you might have seen in the past, where game wins by the team is determined as the winning. I still think this should be differential, but crazy, whatever.
I generally agree, and I think that most team events will probably still use differential for pairings.
I think it's pretty likely, yeah. And then the same thing applies for team rankings, but where you set battle points as the third tiebreaker. I think using not doing wins random seems kind of crazy in pairings as well, but
I think wins battle point random for pairings.
yeah, wins battle points random or just wins random. Like I prefer wins random because it just like makes sure you're not punished for doing well by playing other teams that are doing well, right?
Or you do wins random day 1 if it's a 2-day event, and then day 2 you do wins battle point random. So that way
you
there's no
effectively do a
submarine
bracket.
opportunity or like just
Yeah, and that's the team event pack. So what we're going to do now is Jeremy and I are going to jump over to TTS, and we're going to do a couple rounds of pairings. We're going to do a round of 8s and then a round of 5s. Is probably going to be the easiest way to do it. Or we'll do a round of 5s then a round of 8s. I think is probably a better way to do it. So this is set up as a 5s table, as an 8s table and a 5s table. So you can kind of see my armies here, right? I have my 5 armies. They are all unique, and each of them is paired to a different disposition. You'll notice here that there's some words written on those. Just ignore them. These were just there for the colors.
we put the
So my
colors.
demons is red. It's Purge the Foe. My marines is teal. That's playing reconnaissance. My Necrons is green, playing Take and Hold. My sisters is yellow, playing priority assets. And my Eldar is blue, playing disruption. And Jeremy will have 5 cards the same over on his side.
Yep.
So we will not be, and there we can see we have his cards here as proposed. We will be using the first defenders, second defenders, and we'll be using the forgotten because we're playing 5-man pairings. We will not, or we will be using refused. Apologies, not forgotten. So these ones will not get used, and neither will this because this represents the initial engagement 1. And then these 3 represent the main engagement. And then we would determine by the round whether we were playing round 1, 2, or 3. So we'll roll a dice. We are playing in round 2 on a D3, so we will be using the B layouts for anybody that defaults on their pairing. So this one here specifically will use the B layout, right? So we will always use B here, and then these ones would pick as normal. So I'm going to do my first defender. I'm going to put down this one, and Jeremy's going to pick his. And then we flip simultaneously. I've defended with my Chaos Demons who are playing Purge. He's defended with his Necrons who are playing Reconnaissance. I would then look at my list of what my players feel like. Okay, who feels good into the Necrons? Who doesn't mind if they have table choice, right? Like obviously the Necrons, we might look at, okay, you can't play into them if they are on Dawn of War because it's really bad for you, but they can always pick Dawn of War, so we can't attack with you. You might have to attack with someone else, right? So we might we might look into our pairings and decide what we want to have them play, and we're going to go with, these 2 here. And then now we've done that, we'll reveal simultaneously. I've attacked with Eldar and Sisters, and he's attacked with Knights and with Guard. So I have the option of either playing the Meat Grinder mirror match, or I can have my Purge the Foe play against his Disruption. I'm going to go over and look at my chart. Purge the Foe against Disruption, we're playing Punishment, and they're playing Delaying Action. Maybe I like that one, maybe I don't. I get to make that decision. I think my list is better. I'm going to have we're going to play the Meat Grinder mirror match, and I'm going to hand that one back.
Yep. And then for me, I'm looking at my Necrons playing. Sorry, colors throw me off.
Priority assets or disruption.
Yeah. And I'm going to be quite honest. I feel a lot more comfortable into the Eldar matchup into disruption. So I'm going to hand that back to you. And we're going to.
So we now know that they're playing there. And now I can consult my chart and I can see, okay, we have these two playing each other, and I have the choice as my demons. Well, this is a knight army. Knights are pretty scary, but they're also very fast. So I might choose to play a version of this game that's a little more stable. So I might decide that I'm going to put that on the Crucible of Battle version of that game. So we're going to play on Crucible of Battle so that I can afford to be a little further away with my demons because I want to sit and get a couple turns before the knights are just on top of me. And then Jeremy can look at his and have a look at the disruption versus reconnaissance mission and decide from any of those layouts available. And what do we have available for you,
Which I
Jeremy?
have no idea what's actually disruption versus reconnaissance has the option of tipping point, dawn, or search and destroy. In terms of this, I kind of want to lean into my speed, and so I'm going to go with tipping point.
Makes sense. And you would also be comparing, like, what does this mission look like? How do you feel about that? Does this have, is this a 6 objective map? Do I want, easy staging? Do I want to be able to walk onto that? Right. You as the
Yeah,
defender have the ability.
because
Is there a really
disruption.
good spot for you to infiltrate into on this board? You're the defender. You'll always get first drop. If you have a strong infiltrating
Exactly.
unit as a defender, you might be like, well, I want to be able to start here and I know that I can because I can then make sure that my opponent can't infiltrate there themselves. So I can develop my tanks or my staging unit into that position, right? It's a very, very interesting dynamic that you get to pick the map knowing that you'll have that. So that's our initial engagement. We've now determined those matchups. We now go into the second round where we'll put down our second defender, and I'm going to defend with this one.
I'm going to defend with this one.
Okay, and we don't actually have a lot of choice here.
No, because there's no choice.
So my Marines are playing reconnaissance, and they have the choice of disruption or take and hold. And Jeremy's Tyrants are playing take and hold, and they have the choice of take and hold or priority assets. And now we take these away secretly, and then we move these over to here and here. And I am feeling good about that one. And I'm going to send that one away to the refused.
Yep. And I think that this is funny for Battleshock purposes. Just deny them all their strats. So we're going to do that.
Fantastic. So we now have my Disruption Marines playing against Jeremy's Take and Hold Admech. We have. Did you use double take and holds?
Oh, sorry. I just grabbed from here. We're just going to do this. We're going to fix that.
There we go. Against his priority assets, Tau. And then we have the priority assets versus disruption on the end here. So I would have the choice here with my Space Marines. My Space Marines in disruption or reconnaissance against take and hold. There we go. I can definitely read. And I have the choice of tipping point. I have the choice of dawn of war, and I have the choice of sweeping engagement. Now my Marines are playing go fast and hit hard, and I don't really want to play. Maybe I don't. Maybe I want to just be able to cross the board super quickly. So I'm going to stick those guys on dawn of war, and they can go. They can go and crunch those admech because they can't use their range to their advantage. And then Jeremy now gets to look at priority assets versus take and hold.
Yeah, and that one's kind of interesting. So priority assets versus take and hold is either Crucible, Dawn, or Hammer.
Are you looking at the right one? I'm seeing Dawn, Hammer, Crucible. Yeah, sorry, you're just saying in the other order. Go on.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm
You're reading from
scrolling
bottom to
backwards through
top.
the
Yep.
document, so I went CBA.
Like my head is
Cannot be
not. My head does not work with that. Yep.
That's all good.
And this is a 6 objective mission set, and these ones are generally
is.
all pretty dense boards because the 6 objective boards tend to be a lot denser. So
And that's because they've taken that big kind of ruin that we see on a lot of them, was made up by the two, 8 by 11.5 polygons, and split them into 2 separate objectives and spread them out by about 5-6 inches. So
yep. I think those boards all look way better, personally.
They definitely do, and I would much rather play mostly on 6 objective boards for that reason.
Jeremy's going to go ahead and pick the Crucible battle map, and then we know that we have the other last one here is priority assets versus disruption, and priority assets versus disruption is playing on layout B, which is a fixed layout. And let's see and have a look at what that is. Priority assets versus disruption is going to be on layout B, which I've definitely found, which is going to be on tipping point. So they will be playing tipping point 100% determined. So there you go. And that's how you do it. So this was our initial engagement, and this was our main engagement.
Yep.
So that's determined the 5 pairings that we will play for this round. All right. So let's pull that back, and then let's throw it again on 8 mans. So you can kind of see here, obviously for our 5-man layout, we had everything as determined. Now for 8 mans, I'm going to add an additional reconnaissance with my Death Guard, an additional disruption with my orcs, and an additional purge the foe with my world eaters. So
Yep.
you can see there, again, we have none are duplicated across the second layer, right? So you can kind of think of it as the first layer is totally fine. We can have one of everything. And then we add in a sixth one. Well, we can then apply the next one, but we couldn't stick another purge the foe in because we wouldn't fill out this layer. So we can't go up to the third layer until we filled the second, and we can't go up to the second layer until we filled the first, right? Is the easiest, is the
Yeah.
way that it
And
that
similarly,
you
I've added Death Guard playing teal.
reconnaissance. Yep.
Yeah. Tyranids playing green and Sisters playing yellow.
Yep. Jeremy's colorblind.
I am. I am actually colorblind.
No, I'm not like I'm not making a joke. I'm telling telling the people watching at home that it's not that Jeremy's just
I'm not taking
misacting.
the piss. I'm actually colorblind.
Yeah,
It
we
explains
picked a
most of
great
my
way to do
paint
this.
schemes.
Yeah, Jeremy really struggles with the fact that I've exclusively learned to refer to these as colors and not names, because I'm like, yeah, I play red. What do you? Jeremy's gonna be like, you play red? What does that mean? I don't.
No, Innis is definitely a blue player.
All right. So I am a very much a blue player. Let me grab my Ristic study. So we would now go into this round, and we're going to roll off to see. We're going to roll to see what round number we're playing, and we are playing round one. So we're playing on the A layouts on these last two. So in the refused and forgotten. And again, this is initial engagement one. Then we have our initial
Second
engagement two.
initial engagement.
Yep, we have the reinitial engagement,
Yeah.
the remix to engagement. Then we have our main engagement, and then we have our champion. So we have the full set of all four of them here, right? They're split
Yep.
into all those sections. So we're going to go down with our first defender. So I've defended with my disruption orcs, and he's defended with his purge the foe knights. All right, you can have these two choices.
You could have those two choices.
All right.
Do we both do the same thing?
So we've decided that we want to be really mean, and I'm only giving this knight player the choice of reconnaissance or reconnaissance. And Jeremy has gone with priority assets and priority assets. So I will be picking purely based on which army I would prefer to play against. Now, if I go and have a look at disruption versus priority assets, I know that in there is hiding a lovely, lovely tipping point map that's incredibly dense. That I know that if I play that against the Tau, they're going to have a really tough time shooting me. So I'm going to hand that one over, knowing that that's exactly what I'll get to play. And I'm going to
Yeah.
take the Tau and I'm going to play tipping point.
Meanwhile, I haven't actually looked at these right now. So green versus red, we are looking at some pretty fun options, but it looks like so it's recon versus purge, right?
Yeah, green versus red, notably, is the only one that Purge can't pick search and destroy on.
Yes, you are playing on Dawn, Crucible, or Search.
Am I going mad? Maybe I'm going mad.
Nope, sorry, Hammer, Dawn, sir, Hammer,
Yeah,
Dawn,
Hammer Dawn
Crucible.
search. Hammer Dawn Crucible. No
Yeah.
search. Yeah, that's the Purge the Foe has the option of search and destroy in all four of its other matchups, but against reconnaissance, it does not have the choice of search and destroy.
Yeah.
There'll be a lot of second
So
order consequences that we'll start finding out as we go through here, but that's the first one that
this is
I
very
noticed.
funny, and we're gonna make your Death Guard player play on Dawn against Knights, and they're gonna have a lovely,
Yeah, that's
lovely
fine. This is triple defiler. My Death Guard player is salivating.
time. No, we decided that we just wanted to make it a coin flip.
That's fine. Yeah, I don't think that's a coin flip. My chaos player was just like, yeah, I just want to do actions once they're dead because I'll table them and then I don't have to do anything else, right? I'll just do the actions, right? That's how Death Guard plays now. All right, let's have a look at our second defender. Is this your second defender, or have you not taken
No,
it?
that was the thing you handed back to me.
So let's go ahead and put down another one. I've done it again. I've gone with disruption straight away a second time because I believe just doing the same thing because it's not too mad. It's one of the signs of madness. And let's go ahead and give this guy the option of either of those. So there'll be a lot of emergent strategy that you'll find. Like maybe you want to keep two of a certain card in hand. Maybe you have somebody that you have an army that's really happy with like four of their A layouts because you'll need to know, well, my A layouts are these. I'm happy with the A layouts into this matchup, and this matchup, but not into that matchup. So maybe you want to try to defend with armies that draw out that matchup so that you can avoid it on your, your champion and your forgot or your champion and your refused, so that you can have like less bad table choices available at the end. Maybe you need to take some coin flips. You're like, well, I just don't think they're going to use that, and I'm going to try to catch it at the end on this bad layout for it. Right? There's a lot of emergent strategy that we'll find out over time with this. That it's just impossible to say until we have more context.
Yep.
All right. So I've given Jeremy the option of the reconnaissance mirror or priority assets versus reconnaissance, and he's given me the option of the disruption mirror or reconnaissance versus take and hold, or disruption versus take and hold. Now I know that I love this matchup for disruption because disruption is just doing actions on terrain, and it's just I'm playing super fast Eldar. I'm just going to run around the table and do a bunch of actions. So I'm going to be very happy taking that and throwing back this
Yep.
disruption mirror match.
And then in my case, walk me through this. No, my colors went away. I can't read.
Oh no. So we have teal versus teal, or we have teal versus yellow. So that is reconnaissance in both cases. So reconnaissance against reconnaissance is playing gather intel, where you're both doing actions to each other. Reconnaissance versus priority assets. The priority assets is doing vanguard operation, and the reconnaissance is going to be doing search and scour. So I believe the priority assets is doing sabotage, and the reconnaissance is doing just actions on units near. It's the one where it has to do actions and on enemy units that aren't on terrain. And notably, it is a 6 objective. You have to do actions against enemy units that aren't on objectives, and it's a 6 objective map. So I think this one's kind of terrible for reconnaissance.
In which case, we are going to play the mirror.
It's one of those ones that 6 objective maps can make some games very much more interesting. So you can, if you have opponent's army that's very good at shooting, it might struggle with a 6 objective map. And if you can hit it with an attacker option that makes it play a 6 objective map, or if it's playing a thing that's like kill things that aren't on objectives, or something that struggles to get targets, you're playing a mission that really wants you to be on objectives. Picking a mission that will let you get onto a 6 objective map can be a way to break those matchups open. Okay, disruption versus taking hold. I have what choices for my tables? And we're certainly, once we get more used to this, this will be a lot quicker. But for the time being, we're just referencing.
I need to make this table for this because this keeps throwing me off.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is Purge versus Recon.
You have Purge versus Recon. No, you have a Recon mirror match. I have Disruption versus Take and Hold.
So Disruption versus Take and Hold. You have the options of Sweeping, Crucible, or Hammer.
Yeah, and I am going to take. Let's go for a nice little bit of Eldar versus Admech. Let's do Hammer and Anvil. Get away from those scary infiltrators and have a deep deployment zone to go and hide in.
A deep empty deployment zone, but it will help.
Hello, as long as I'm not on top of the Admech, right? Like I defended, I know that I can put my Rangers down and get a nice easy space where I know those infiltrators aren't going to be in, and then I can sit on the other side of my deployment zone away from those scary models.
Yeah, and then for the Disruption Mirror, I have the option of Crucible, Tipping, or Sweeping. And in this particular case, it is just a 5 objective mission. And I, having first drop, would love to be able to take over that middle. So I'm going to take Tipping.
Yep, makes a ton of sense. Now we all know that reconnaissance is Fulgur's task force, right? This is just 9 land speeders Iron Storm, but oh, crazy! 20 Poxwalkers with first drop.
This is just a bunch of assaulting bloat drones.
Fantastic. Can that detachment even play reconnaissance? I have no idea.
Well, no, because the bloat drone one is 1.
Sure.
So you just
I don't even know if I just don't know if Death Guard has a 2 DP reconnaissance option.
Oh yeah, fair. I don't know. We'll look at it later.
It's not.
We definitely created these very haphazardly
right?
at the beginning.
All we're doing just now is vamping. We'll take none of these suggestions as real suggestions, more than like, hey, we've got some emergent. There are no. You would have to be playing triple ones to be playing Contagion Engines with Reconnaissance as Death Guard. Their only reconnaissance is Paragons of Progressance.
Oh, beautiful.
All right. I have defended with my Necrons as Taken Hold because they're going to go stand on objectives. Jeremy has probably playing Hypercrypt Reconnaissance and she's going to teleport around the table.
Exactly.
Well, let's have you. You're going to teleport around the table. We're going to try and catch it, Bennett, kill it. So my last one goes into my Forgotten slot, or the Champion slot, as it's called by the pack now, to go into the Champion position. And these ones will go into my main engagement because we're in the main engagement step now. So these will be my Defender, and whichever one of these doesn't get picked will be my Refused. Now, I'm a firm believer in always do the drama first. What's the champions? Now we've got Sisters versus Guard playing Priority Assets versus Disruption. And then we're offering the Recon versus Taking Hold game twice. Which version do you want to you trying to play Runaway? We're going to play come and catch you and kill you. And then we have the Taking Hold mirror match, or Taking Hold versus Disrupt versus Priority Assets. I know that I've just attacked this with double Purge the Foe, so I don't know whatever gets rejected here is going to be playing against a Purge the Foe. And maybe I'm really, really happy with the Purge the Foe versus Priority Assets mission, so I'm going to send that back because I know that that's going to happen. And I'm going to take the Take and Hold mirror match because I'm happy with the table choice here. Right? And then I know that the Purge the Foes come out and we get those matchups here, here, and here. And then we would follow the same projection for the tables. So the Take and Hold mirror match, what do we have option-wise?
Taking hold mirror match. I realize what's been throwing me off so much is that this document is not in alphabetical order in any
No,
meaningful
it's
way.
not in any order as I can understand it. Yeah. I think
Well,
it's
they've at
like
least
all the
grouped
taken
them.
holds, then it's all of the next one, but it's only the 4 that they need and so on and so forth.
Yeah, it's. I mean, at least they didn't blow up the
It's
document too
gonna be
much.
a
It's
lot
already a
easier once
hundred
I
page
put this into
PDF.
a spreadsheet that says all the numbers on it, and then I can like hyperlink them to the maps or something like that.
Yeah,
So we have
no, that
Tipping Point, we have Dawn of War,
Dawn.
and we have Search and Destroy for my choices for this Taken Hold mirror match. Oh, let's do Search and Destroy. You can start right on
No,
top of my 6
stay
Catan.
away, stay away.
Catan don't care if they're battle shocked, Jeremy.
No, they don't. I hate it. All right, and then we have after that. This is Purge into Recon.
Reconnaissance. So we're just doing the same one. We did this one as the first defender option. So this is the 3 that are not Search and Destroy.
Uh, well, there's
So we have
6
the
maps.
choices of
It's Hammer, Dawn, Crucible.
Yep.
And you know what? We're just gonna we want to play a nice stable game, and we don't really.
Demons don't do stable games. Okay,
Yeah, but
then
we
we
don't
have
really
World
feel like
Eaters.
playing on Dawn right now because that map shouldn't exist.
Look, Dawn is always a mistake. Everyone knows Fairy Liquid is better than Dawn Dish Soap. Um, all right. Do you know what my least favorite thing so far I'm finding is that one of the Taken Hold missions is called Purge and Secure.
Yes,
I've
the
decided that's
naming
my least
throws us
favorite thing
off.
so far this edition. Okay, we have Purge the Foe versus Priority Assets as our refuse slot, which is always playing the A map, which means we are playing on. This is a good old. This is Dawn of War, my friend. Your sister's player has just been handed Dawn of War against World Eaters, and I'm sure they're thanking you.
I'm sure that we can go really, really far back and be safe, right, girls?
And then Priority Assets against Disruption is our last mission set.
And layout A, that is sweeping engagement. Hey, guess what? We oopsied
Fantastic.
and we managed to put our refused and our champions on bad layouts.
Okay, so hopefully that's given you guys a decent overview of what pairings looks like in the initial system and how it works. So we would now, what we would do is we would go away, we would play our games. Maybe, we get a 3-17, we have a 10-10, we have a 20-0, we have a 15-5, we have a 12-8, we've got another 10-10. Shocking that that was a 10-10 against Necrons. Who would have guessed? And then obviously the World Eaters blow out a 20-0.
Yeah.
And then the guard get a nice 18-2. And then we add up our scores. Okay. So we've got 3, we've got 13, we've got 33, we've got 38. This is now 60, 70, and that's 88 for Jeremy's team to 72 for mine. That's exceeded the minimum threshold, which is that you need to win by 12 points, which means that Jeremy's team would get the win and would score 2 points for the round. If this game had instead been a 15-5, Jeremy's score would have been 85, and mine would have been 75, which would not meet the 12-point threshold, meaning that this would be a draw and we would 10-10. Or we would get a draw for the round and we would both score 1 match point because Jeremy did not meet the 12-point threshold in that situation to win the round. And that's it. That is teams in the new edition. How are you overall? What are your thoughts on it? How do you like? Obviously, most of this is pretty much the same as it was in WTC, right? We're not.
Yeah,
There's not.
I like that. I like that most of it is fairly familiar to me. There's been a lot of discussion today about whether the defender in pairings being the defender in teams is going to be a problem or just something that teams have to adapt
I think
to
it's
and
going to be a
can be
problem.
adapted.
Personally, I think it's purely like giving that the rule purely because the name is the same feels a little volatile to me. And I think that I would have preferred they just rename attacker and defender than do this. And that might just be might be the way that I
Yeah.
recommend we go in the future. Is that
For
we just don't call
me,
them attacker
and
and
this is
defender.
just
But
because, it's not only the shared name, but also the idea is that from a thematic perspective, this is
the defender was
balanced
already
comedy.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, like they've chosen the map. They are the ones that are there. You're the one that's coming onto their turf, so they have some kind of an advantage.
No, I
Now,
understand.
that
I
being
just
said, they've
people
already
frame it as
chosen the
very
map, so that's
powerful,
already a
right?
pretty big advantage usually.
Yeah, I think if the maps were less disparate, I would mind this less. If there was like,
Having map pick is massive.
yeah, if it was like you have the choice between Crucible, like you have the choice between like, if it was just Dawn or Sweeping or Crucible or Search and Tipping or Hammer, like you picked between one of the two per round, but because they're so completely varied, it feels kind of sketchy. I wonder if there might be a way that you did it where like the attacking player gets to ban one of the two maps and then you pick from the other two. So you never play the worst one. I think that, like, but I don't want to get into the like, oh, we need to start trying to fix the system already. I am willing to give it a try, but
Yeah.
I think that there is potentially more layers to this that might need to come out because the idea of attacking to someone and knowing that they're just going to pick sweeping engagement is very stressful.
Yeah,
I'm just
that's fair.
imagining that like more than like over a third of games are going to be played on sweeping engagement in Dawn of War now, and I
Well, I
think that
mean, they
no
make
games
up a
will be played
third
on
of the
sweeping
maps,
engagement in Dawn of
so
War. So
yeah. I would have been I would have much preferred if those just weren't in the map pool, but
yeah, for sure.
that is a decision that Games Workshop made, and apparently they wanted to keep it.
I think if it was just we just had sweeping and we didn't have Dawn, because at least sweeping is better.
Or if even if we reverted Dawn's changes that they made last edition and moved it back
Oh yeah, so
so
it's
it's
10
got a
inches for 10 inches up instead of 12 inches up. Yeah.
yeah.
Like I said, I think it's very early to be doing the like we need to change the system, right? We need to change the format. But I do think that
I mean, we're going to look at WTC and we're going to talk with all of you when you come back from WTC, and we'll have a really good idea then of what worked, what didn't
yeah,
work, and also what really felt bad or really
I think
felt good about
overall
the
we're very
setup.
experienced team players, right? I think it's not that crazy to look at the system that we've been micro adjusting for over a decade and say, oh, this is a very drastic change that feels like it's warping a lot of the way that we do pairing strategy, and that seems chaotic, right?
Yeah.
Like immediate things to stand out is that if you're a defender army and you don't have a way to abuse the fact that you have to drop first, you're probably doing something wrong, right? Like
Yep.
an army that doesn't have an infiltrating, like typically dropping first is only an advantage if you have something to do with it, right? Like if you don't, you
Yeah,
usually want to
because
drop
usually
second.
you're giving your opponent information that they can then act on.
Yeah. I have another question here. Have they
Yeah.
changed how redeploys work, or is it still attacker redeploys first?
That's a great question. I have my core
It
rules
is still
open.
attacker redeploys first.
Give me a second and
But
I
they
will
did
look at
change
it.
redeploys to alternate units, not rules. So it's not as big an impact as it was now. Because it will now be like if we both have a redeploy three, I'll redeploy one, you'll redeploy one, I'll redeploy one, you'll redeploy one. It won't be just I redeploy my three, then you redeploy your three. So it's not as bad as it was in the current edition. Because in the current edition, the attacker redeploying first was crazy bad. You were screwed a lot of the time because your opponent would just like you do your redeploys, then I redeploy to perfectly counter you. Right now they only get one unit to do that with, which is
Right. This is
less
in
traumatic.
the companion, not in the core rules.
Yes, this is in the companion. It's stage 8 of the pre-game steps.
Yeah. So some rules let you redeploy certain units after both armies are deployed, unless otherwise stated. Resolve those rules in step. Players alternate resolving any such rules in this step. Players and then units placed in strategic resources in this step do not count towards the combined points. So no,
Yeah,
it's
so it is still rules. Yeah, so it's
yeah.
again.
So if you
This
have
is a very big
a
impact,
1
yeah.
versus a D3, and it is starting with the attacker. So if you're the attacker and you
You
have
would
a 1
resolve
and your
your
opponent
yeah.
has 3, they kind of go,
Or hypothetically, if you were playing a Defiler mirror match, I would resolve my 3 redeploys from the Master of the Maelstrom, then you would resolve yours if I was the defender and I picked the table, which means that
yeah,
I not only got the first drop from my Red Corsair Raiders, I also get to see where all your stuff goes and then redeploy to perfectly counter what you've done. It is, I think that's a bad change. I think
yeah.
that that's terrible, personally.
I
It makes
I
the value of
genuinely think
redeploys as
that
a defending
redeploys
army.
that just in general redeploy should work the other way around.
Yeah, the defender redeploys first, then the attacker.
Yeah.
I think that would be a good change, or change
Because
it to
the thing
alternating
is that
units.
including a redeploy takes away any risk there is with being the defender and having that first drop and making a mistake.
Hmm. Yeah. Anyway, we shall see how teams continue to develop this. Obviously, there is one thing that's worth saying here, guys. There is no requirement that teams just wholesale use this. If people decide that this is not a good system, it is okay to just say we don't think that's a good change and not use it.
Yeah.
Um, Team
And
events have a long
it's
and
also
short
one of these things
history
where
of doing
if
that.
that happens enough, there's a good
Games Workshop
chance
will
that
probably change it.
they'll update the system.
They're not immune to listening, right? I think that that's a good thing.
We
The
saw
fact that this
in the
exists
last
is a
2
very
editions
good thing.
just how much they do actually listen and make those changes.
Yeah. I think they should only be able to do that if the attacker always gets first turn because they're attacking, right? Obviously, they should go first.
Okay. Yes, but bring back the seize roll.
No, screw that. You got first. You got first drop and first redeploy. I'm attacking. Why don't I go first? Tell me I'm wrong.
Oh, I'm gonna
How do you?
pucker.
You're getting attacked and you attack back first. That sounds crazy.
I sprung a trap.
Uh, why can't I spring a defender? You weren't in position yet, so I got to deploy on you first,
Mm.
right?
I'm
Like
just
it
saying,
goes
it's a
both
plan
ways.
generations in the making.
Well, I wouldn't know anything about that.
No, definitely not.
Not a thing. All right,
Well, thanks for
Jeremy.
taking the time to do this.
No worries, Jeremy. I
Everyone, let
appreciate
us know in
you.
the comments
Appreciate
what you
you.
think about the new team system.
Yeah, and if you liked what we did here, leave us some feedback. Do the usual commenting, subscribing, blah blah blah. You can check out patreon.com/statcheck or YouTube memberships below. If you want to hear more from us, you can check us out every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. UK time, where we vamp all about Warhammer. We'll be back this week for our first of the 11th edition talk, I guess. And yeah, more bonus content on the way about the edition as we get our teeth into it. I have played about 10 games now. I don't feel comfortable making videos until I've played a few more. So I think you guys should get like 5 more games in this weekend. And then I'm going to start getting into some content, I
Yeah,
think.
I'm at a similar spot. And I need to figure out colors versus names because as I was talking with Innes at the beginning, before we started recording, I know all of the names but not the colors because I've just been working off of text that I
Well,
had.
Purge is red, I can tell you.
I figured that out, and priority is yellow. After that, I'm colorblind, so it doesn't matter.
Reconnaissance is teal. What colorblind are you?
Teal, blue, green. So
You
it's a
are
it's
screwed.
yes, it's a gradient problem. It was brilliant being told at like 19 by a recruiter that I was colorblind. I went, oh, well, that explains a lot.
I think it's crazy they went with teal, green, and blue, and not like orange or something as the fifth color. Like
Or
teal,
purple.
guys? Really? I'm glad they didn't do white and black, right? Like it would have been too close to magic, but
It- yeah, I don't know.
I'm
Some
still a
people
blue
saw just
player at
shades
heart.
of gray, anyways.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, guys. Thanks so much for being with us. Like I said, leave some comments if you play some team events. Let us know how they go. We're always looking forward to hearing from you. But thanks very much for your time. I'm going to run an outro video, and then we're all good.